So, I'd like to talk a little bit about Dr. Harlan Lane's book, Mask of Benevolence. So, it talks about some oppression. It's a really good book. I'm going to discuss specifically chapter 4. It's over language bigotry in the deaf community. Honestly, I try to avoid this topic because that part of the book really hits home to some people. It's very depressing and it really impacts the whole deaf experience. So the Milan Conference in Italy was held in 1880, and there it was announced that the best way to teach deaf individuals was through the oral method. So history has really changed since then. This is kind of really hard to talk about for me, but it's important to know where we have came from in the past and where we are now, and see where we will be in the future. So if we don't study history, history will end up repeating itself. So many countries are really open to diversity in languages, but other countries are strongly against it and believe that there should only be one language, and that be the majority language. So minority groups are their language seems to be unimportant and tends to get oppressed. So the majority language tends to push their language on those minority groups. So specifically Indian people and people from different countries tend to experience this language oppression. And many languages will eventually eradicate because of this, because the majority cultures are pushing their language on the minority groups. So many of these countries are experiencing this. So Cesar Chavez, he is a Spanish American leader. He spoke about his experiences in school and how that if they spoke Spanish, they were beaten with a ruler if they were speaking in class. Or they get hit with a wooden paddle as well. So that occurred in the past, but today we're more accepting of bilingual languages. But that's how they grew up, and that their language would be illegal. So that kind of punishment we can see is similar to deaf experiences. So Lane gives an example of oppression. And some of these minority groups might feel embarrassed if they use their minority language. So a famous man really support bilingualism. His name was Francis Grosjean. So he recently created a new deaf study. He created this article that talked about signing and interpreters and the importance of providing. And I'm going to provide the link below, and you can go there to access that in sign language or another language if you'd like to read about that. So Francis Grosjean explained what would happen when people were punished, specifically children, when they would use their natural language. He noticed 4 things. First, that the kids cannot excel in their language, and that they use a sink or swim method, and that they use the sink or swim method to see if they could excel in their language. So they'd either succeed or they would fail. So the majority culture would really force their language onto these children. So the book explains a situation about some French boys who would be forced to say the words that were written on the blackboard. And those children would go behind the teacher's back and start signing and asking their fellow peers as to what they were asking us to do because they didn't understand the meaning. They only knew how to produce the words. So that is the sink or swim method. So some children are able to speak and pick up on it really well, and others can't. Some might be able to say it, but they don't know the meaning. So Grosjean said that these four things happen when they are using the sink or swim method. This occurs in different language backgrounds. So children can't succeed and they might sink, or they might be unsure and start assuming as to what they're supposed to do, or the children might have negative attitudes toward the majority culture and the majority language, and that kind of excludes their language, as well as negative attitudes about their own minority group because they are told that to look down upon their group and their language. So suppose a minority group was educated in their natural language by people in that group, you can see how the students do a whole lot better. So we see the simulation of the mainstream approach, where kids are expected to be put into the education system and either sink or swim, and that's proved to not be as effective. So that's some different methods to teaching. So if a minority language group is taught in their language, and then is slowly introduced to the majority language, and taught by someone in that minority group, then you can see those children develop. And that's also an effective way to teach, rather than the sink or swim method. So if going on the opposite, if a majority group is teaching that minority language by people who are not in that same minority culture, it's harder for the children to keep up. And they're more resistant because those people in the minority group might be poor, might not be well educated, and have to work harder compared to the majority group. Those people in the minority group might not be as skilled or as educated, and they can't really advocate for themselves. So it's best if you are trying to encourage these children to learn to teach them in their minority language. So a deaf writer, he wrote and gave his perspective on this. So Bailyn showed that the method on forcing English and writing the words on the board and expecting children to use oralism was extremely frustrating. And that really influenced him and affected him. So in the past, I found that a French person wrote a book on educating in gestures. They were extremely intelligent in the subject. This writer really explained the book. He wrote many books in the 79. Oh, Desgloss wrote this book.